Welcome to the first installment of hopefully many of our show limited capacity.
In limited perspective, I think it's still we're still not ironed out on the name yet, so it could be the first and last.
Either one applies.
Show. That's right. Feel free to call in to our pretend number to let us know what name you think is the best for us. This is Matt Killam and Gretchen DeBacker. We are in our inaugural program here. Could be the first and last. So we want to thank both of our parents for listening, and the other people who may be waking up in a penitentiary that this is being broadcasted in.
And we really can't guarantee that our parents are listening either.
Right.
Yeah. But we have hope.
Yeah, we do have hope.
Right.
And I think it's important to talk about the programming in general. We're excited to be a part of Toledo Integral Media Education programming, although our show is the antithesis of that. I can't emphasize this enough. We will not be educating the masses in anything. And one of the most important components of this station in general is to bring a voice to the voiceless. And as a 37-year-old white male, I can tell you that my ship has finally come in here. I feel like I'm going to be heard.
Finally.
That's right. Thank you.
I'm pleased that we could be a part of that. So let's talk a little bit about how we got to this point.
Let's do it.
You and I have been friends for a year or so.
That's right. Longest year of your life.
It seems like 10. And you recently returned to Toledo, is that right?
I have.
Okay.
I have. I've long time Toledoan, and I have returned to my roots, if you will.
Working?
Yes. Also to
Hopefully this
limited
isn't your
capacity.
job.
That's right. I'm really hoping this works out.
Good.
And it's a rough start so far.
Yeah, it is. But we have talked. You have talked about wanting to be on the radio. I think it would be fun to be on the radio, and we happened upon someone who was working on this station and thought, why not?
Agreed. I think that I've always felt that the public needs my limited perspective, and I think this is a good avenue for us to bring it to them. There's a lot of things that I've come across that I would like to talk to the public about, and we're going to kick off, I think, our first show with an important part of my personal life, which is streaming television.
Yes.
And as you know, I truly indulge in this programming. I will watch every episode of a series as soon as it comes out to try to make my life seem less empty.
Yes. And less lonely. We're sad.
I don't think you need to add to it.
No, I was talking about myself.
Okay, good.
So let's talk about your setup. Now, do you have cable?
I do.
And you also have Netflix?
Yes, I'm proud to say.
Okay. So I have gone a step beyond you.
Okay.
Which I'm proud to say because it never happens in any other arena. But I only have Apple TV. So I don't have any live television. So I am absolutely hostage to what is streaming.
Okay.
And do much like you do, which is indulge completely in a season or a show as soon as I watch it.
I'm not embarrassed to say, I mean, I have some cable, but I do bottom out. I've watched documentaries on the crocodile population growing too much for house pets in Florida. That's an actual thing to our audience to avoid. But I watch so much television now that I literally bottom out. Yeah. But I am proud, and I'm excited to say that House of Cards just came out.
Right.
And I watched it from beginning to end, so I'm going to warn our audience in advance that we will have some spoiler alerts here. But again, based on my limited intellect, I will have no deep understanding of the programming at all, so this might not be...
it might not be that.
Might not be too bad.
Right. I also watched the whole thing, and this is the sports season.
Yes.
And you watched all the others as well.
I have.
I did think that the marketing this year of going into the season was very clever. They used a hashtag FU 2016. I love it. I also think it's great that it's in a presidential election year. Did you know that this is a presidential election year?
In American presidential?
Yes.
Well, that is exciting.
Yeah. So I don't know. What did you think of the season?
I liked it. I ought to tell you that I have sort of lost interest in the series in general. I mean, I watch it because I have nothing else in my life with any meaning. But the first season I thought was great. But when Frank starts offing people himself, even I was a little skeptical, and it's gotten sort of long in the tooth in my opinion. And I know that you have some people on the show that you think are not ideal. But I like all the characters. I mean, I can certainly watch and will watch it until they stop showing it on television.
Absolutely, and I think that Kevin Spacey is intriguing in anything. I love him. I could watch him do anything. I love his southern accent. I love everything about the character. But they do go They do go so far. I think that one of the things that, again, spoiler alert, this season, the first couple seasons, what's so interesting about the show is that you don't know what their MO is, right? So they have this little meeting him and his wife, Claire Underwood.
Who you loathe. It's important for people to know that you loathe her.
I do loathe her.
Okay.
In many ways, and we can get back to that. But they have a meeting because they decide they're going to do X.
Okay.
Right? But you're not privy to the meeting as the viewer.
Right.
You just see it all unfold. And it's interesting because it's twists and turns and, they're all their machinations. But now we are in season 4.
Right.
And they're still doing the same
gig
things.
is up.
And it's like, come on. And this way too much about season 4 is about her, who I think is...
See, I think she's great. I think the character is good, and I like their interaction. I think there's no reason to think we can't have these two sociopaths be in this position. That's something I'm comfortable with. However, I'm a dope, so I don't know these things being so farcical that they couldn't possibly occur is lost on me. But I can't get over the fact that this guy is now off 2 people with his bare hands, and there's not. That's pretty deep right there.
Right.
Speaking of spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I just think the show is good because it gives me 10 hours of something to do other than think about my own life, which is ideal. But it is a good. The show has been good, and I think their characters are well written. I like Claire. I think that she is cold and manipulative, and there's certainly people within the realm of politics that I think that seems to follow their lives, and I'm okay with that. I don't think it's become. I don't think they're too trite. I just wish the show had. Where's the show going to go, I guess is what
and I think that, I don't know where it's going to go. I'm personally, as much as I do like the show, and again, same reason, we'll watch it every time it comes out. But I am vastly more interested in some of the underlying stories they had this season, particularly about the guy from the made-up newspaper, the Washington Post-esque.
Again, this is an informative show. The guy from the newspaper on the show.
Exactly, guy.
That's right. This is like watching E!
His investigation and what his character is doing, and sort of the underground, and getting people now to start talking about the Underwoods for the story. I think that's vastly more interesting than their nonsense. But that's just me.
His toady, Stampler, is I think the best character to sort of follow in the coattails of the underlying characters being of real substance.
I'm not sure how much he can take. I think he's very much on the verge of...
I'm a little concerned, too. Like, that guy weighs about 135 pounds, and now he's leaping on top of people and putting glasses in their mouths.
But that is a good new torture trick. I never knew that. I mean, that whole glass on the...
How many torture tricks do you...
Well, I know a few.
Okay. That's right. Well, maybe for another show. Or this could be the last show. You might want to get them all out now.
It'll be later.
Right.
But no, he's on the edge.
I just want to say this again. Kevin Spacey's character has now thrown someone in front of a subway.
Allegedly. I mean...
Well, not allegedly.
No, that's true. He did do it. That's a habit.
Right. And he's also killed someone in a garage. And now his chief of staff has, he's done a ton of relatively creepy things. But now he's leaping on top of grown men and suffocating them with what would appear to be a highball glass. There takes a little bit of upper body.
No, it does.
I don't know if these are superheroes. Maybe that's where we're going. I don't know.
It also takes an extraordinary amount of loyalty on the part of, I mean, he's in it now, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure he's now just protecting his own position as well as protecting the president. But I think that the most intriguing, interesting scene of the whole season, and I think we have talked about this briefly before, but was after the guy that's writing the book about them spends the night, again, spoiler alert, spends the night with Claire Underwood at the White House.
Right.
In their former bedroom.
Okay.
And then comes down the next morning, and the president is there making breakfast.
Sure.
Which we can talk about the lunacy of his actual breakfast in a moment. But that they all sit down to the table and the camera sort of pans away.
You thought that was the best or the worst?
I thought it was the most interesting.
I thought it was interesting. I again, I want to know. I don't know the complexities of the private residence at the White House, obviously, but that guy's been wearing the same stuff, for days there. Now I know there is some overnights there. Those people are working. I've watched again 6,500 hours of The West Wing in an embarrassing amount of time. I would say to set up for this program, but just because I had nothing else to do. Right. But why is no one else onto this?
Right.
I mean, he's kind of a granola guy, so maybe that's the get out of jail free card. But every day the same gig.
Yeah.
Something would be said. Something is amiss. Where is he sleeping?
I don't know.
Hard to say.
It's weird. But the whole thing was weird, and I also don't think anyone cuts up an apple and eats it off of a plate.
That was a huge portion of apple.
And you don't get a butcher knife out to cut up an apple. That's a small point.
There
But
are people listening to the show right now that are going to talk about that being an important nuance.
Really? Okay.
Well, no one's listening. I'm just saying that if...
I read an entire blog post on
Yeah.
Gawker or one of those other websites that talked about another scene where the president, Frank Underwood, is in the kitchen making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Okay.
And it was a 7 or 8 paragraph long story about how insane he made this peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
See, that's
and
why
how wrong
I think
it was.
that's
and
why
you
I
wipe
think
the
that this
knife on
show
the
is
bread.
important because we no longer are interested in real life.
Yeah.
People could be, reading The Economist and other things, but this is the kind of thing that we're focusing.
Where else are you going to get this kind of coverage?
Right. How does a fictitious character make a PB&J tune in when
voice
you're not
for the
watching
voiceless.
Hulk Hogan have sex with someone? We're going to be going
Exactly.
into the PB&J making by Frank Underwood. That character is a good one. I don't know why there would be a sexual component to either one of these characters.
No.
They appear to be asexual, and Power, of course, would be the sexual component of what they do. But that is not much of a program, I guess, without that. But it's going to be that the show ends with the two of them together, plotting the next series. The setup is
We'll
good.
watch it.
Of course,
definitely watch it.
absolutely. I don't have a choice but to watch it.
Mm-hmm. So what's next? We're going to try and have a what's streaming segment on our future hopeful broadcasts. So what's coming up that you think you'll be watching?
There's a couple things coming out that were canceled on A&E that I'm, of course, interested in watching after a single season canceled on A&E. I don't know how terrible the programming would have to be to make that.
Is something about ducks or alligators or?
No, those things make it.
Oh,
Those
okay.
are the winners.
All right.
That formula works.
Okay.
But this will be something called The Returned. It is a
It's
show.
about clothes being no.
We'll have to do some research. I'm sure it's not going to be too highbrow.
Okay.
And if it is, I'll turn it off immediately. But that is something I'm going to tune into and be ready to report on.
I will be ready to report on Orange is the New Black.
Okay.
Do you watch that?
I gave up on that also.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a comedy.
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Like
Yeah.
The Martian.
Mm-hmm.
The Orange is the New Black, the same thing. Same show every show.
Sure.
Maybe they need more, orange or more apple breakfast. I don't know how that wins, but
Mix it up.
I've passed on that. I can't do it anymore.
All right. Well,
And if I am a 30-year-old male passing on a show that takes place in a female penitentiary, something is amok.
it's your taste, but that's fine.
Or you're right.
So we will update everyone on what's streaming.
I think so, and what to avoid just
Yes.
as much. This is think of this as a public service announcement
I agree.
in many, many ways.
I agree.
Don't bother spending time with your families or reading. We're going to bring you what to watch in hour
Interesting.
slots.
Right. Yes.
So this will be our Saturday broadcast on what to watch, or more aptly, what not to watch.
Great.
For the next next segment here, we're going to have our first and presumably last special guest. We are going to call this slot Words with Wade.
Yes.
Until we can think of something better. Maybe Wade can help with that. And I'll let you kick it off when he comes on. We're going to take a brief break and be back with Wade and sort of pick his brain about hopefully more trite things to involve your life in.
Welcome back. We are going to start our segment this time. One of the things that Matt, you and I talked about is having some special guests come along for this little adventure, and
A bailout, I think, is how we sort
time
of put on
killer.
it. That's right. Right.
But sort of special contributors to the show.
Right.
And one of the first people that we have invited, in fact, the first person we have invited.
The only one to accept.
That's true.
Right.
Is Wade Kapsakevich, who gleefully accepted the invitation. Many people probably know who Wade is. He's the Lucas County Treasurer. What you may not know is that we essentially went to high school together. And
Now, essentially went to high school together.
well, he went to an all-boys school, St. Francis de
okay.
Sales, and I went
You were
to
in high school
St.
around the
Lauderdale.
same time.
Correct.
Okay, that's an important distinction.
So Wade, welcome.
This is the first that I am coming to grips with the fact that I did not get accepted into Notre Dame, the
Yeah.
all-girls academy. So I settled for St. Francis as it was my safety school.
Who's your go-to?
It's my backup.
It's your fallback.
But yes,
That's fine.
I knew Gretchen back in the halcyon days. It's actually almost 30 years. It was
Wow.
Why do you have to say that?
1987.
Right.
Wow.
Wade, we can just say anything. People can't see
Yeah,
us,
that's
so you
right.
could lie through your teeth.
Yeah.
I am lying through my teeth. You
Okay.
said so. The only people listening to this are parents or people in the penitentiary. Is that what you said?
Or people driving by the tower.
What happens if your parents are in the penitentiary? That would.
Is that really what if, Wade? I mean,
Yeah.
we can
Well, you haven't met my dad.
Right. Well, we won't for 8 to 10.
That's right.
Wait, I don't know if you listened to our first segment there. We'd certainly like your perspective. I know that you are a TV watcher. It is probably less than the two of us because you do have a family that loves you.
Yeah.
I have a family.
Right. We can edit that out. Wait, I don't want you to think that that's.
As an elected official, my first question to you would be, how many people have you killed?
Well, that's what
You have to have killed them.
personally.
Yeah.
See, that is. I am not fond of the House of Cards series, and I feel badly because I feel like I'm not fulfilling my obligation as an American since everyone else seems to be in, and I'm not. And it's probably because I am in politics. I am an elected official. Politics is sort of my profession in some ways. Dorkily enough, I literally am a member of the Electoral College. I mean, you can't, on the spectrum of dorkiness, political dorkiness, that's pretty advanced.
Sure. Right.
So I suppose I feel about House of Cards the way a doctor would feel about ER or Grey's Anatomy, where it's so far-fetched.
So you love it? I'm not following your train.
No.
This is a how-to?
Yeah.
What are you getting at?
It's unrealistic. And
Okay.
and here's the perfect example. But he's only killed 2. I've killed 7, and
Yeah,
I'm only a local elected
Right.
official. By the time
Right.
you're aspiring to the presidency, I mean you're up in double digits.
Sure.
Right? So
I do.
But anyway.
It is heartening though to know, and in the first season you're like, oh my god.
Well, wait, let's ask. Wait. How
Well-
many shows or seasons have you seen of this?
I have seen all 4.
Yeah,
now,
exactly. Thank you. Yes,
that's right. Even though I probably midway through the first season said to myself, "Oh, this is not something I'm enjoying."
Right.
But
because you thought it was a comedy, like Orange Is the New Black or The Martian.
No. It
Okay.
just here. I try hard not to sound pretentious. I fail, of course. But this is probably the first time I will ever utter this sentence. But the British version is just so much better.
Oh, wow.
But it really is the case. It really is the case.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's important for our audience to know
Gretchen
Wayne
and I-
is wearing white gloves.
yeah, that's right.
To our radio broadcast.
I have a monocle.
Yes.
I'm wearing a monocle, and
Your
I'm.
ascot's getting wrinkled.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm bathing in dollar bills right now.
Yeah.
We have a mutual friend, Mark Austin, who truly is an Anglophile and wouldn't watch the American Office because the British Office is so much better. And just, I understand. So I don't want to be like that. But that being said, if you ever get a chance to see the British version of House of Cards, it is so much better. Now, maybe.
Now, what are you saying that makes it better?
Okay. Maybe because I don't understand the British system as much.
Yes.
Maybe it is also as
That's
unrealistic,
maybe.
but I don't appreciate it because I'm not in the system. But that I'll put aside some of the far-fetched aspects of politics. I understand that I understand it more than most. The reason I like the British version more is because you find yourself rooting for. His name is Francis Urquhart. They Americanized it to Frank Underwood. You find yourself rooting for Francis Urquhart more than you do Frank Underwood.
I see.
Francis Urquhart seems to be having a little more fun. He's a little more devilish.
Yeah.
It is more overtly Shakespearean.
Then evil.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He is.
You don't see the Underwoods as evil, do you? I don't think. I mean,
so
Francis-
singularly motivated to their own self-interest. Though.
there is a benign malevolence to Kevin Spacey characters. I think that is difficult. He's not a warm person, even in things that you like him in.
Right.
But go ahead.
Francis Urquhart is just. Francis Urquhart actually kills more people than Frank Underwood has.
Wow.
Well,
And-
based on the metric system, he probably has
He
to.
probably has to. And unlike, as long as we're giving away spoilers, the first person Frank Underwood killed was very much by accident. The asphyxiation and I don't think he set out that night to kill that congressman, but when he realized he was passed out in a car, he said, hey, maybe I can pull this off. Francis Urquhart deliberately had a plan and said, I need to kill X, Y, and Z in order to get where I'm going.
Right.
But it is much more sort of Shakespearean. He's clearly Richard III. His wife is clearly Lady Macbeth. Whereas the American version, they are clearly the Clintons. I mean, that's
Do you think that
that's what they're
Hillary
supposed to be.
Yes,
Hillary
without
Clinton
question.
would kill Bernie Sanders before she would.
Trust me, if she could have killed Bernie Sanders by now, she would have.
She would have.
But,
I
you know,
can't-
but
I
there's-
can't-
I don't think the Clintons spend that much time together.
But you know the idea. Southern Democrat,
Sure.
Clinton from Arkansas, Underwood from South Carolina,
Right.
sort of steely, cold, ambitious, wife, So it's, I like the attention on politics and the political process. It's fine. I'm not morally opposed to it. I just
Sure.
sort of find it goofy around the edges. But,
Good.
you know.
All right.
It's, you know.
Well, when we were...
But if you ever get a chance to see the British version, it's far superior.
We will definitely get on that.
So.
When Matt and I were talking about having you on the show, one of the things that
you said to yourself, we are at the end of the list.
That's right. We don't know.
Everyone just said no.
Who do we know that knows a lot about British television? There's only one name.
Because there's nothing that says ratings more than
that's right.
More than a 25-year-old British BBC series that
that's right.
no one ever saw. So.
Made into an English series. Yeah, I like it. We talked about the fact that you were the Lucas County Treasurer, and I was, and Matt was doing a little bit of research on that. So can you tell us very briefly what the Lucas County Treasurer does?
The Lucas County Treasurer is, well, first of all, before I became treasurer, I suppose I was familiar with the Benjamin Franklin quote that the only certainties in life are death and taxes. I did not appreciate until I became treasurer that most people actually prefer death to taxes. But it is true that the most frequent time someone interacts with the treasurer's office, it is to pay his or her real estate taxes. And it's not pleasant, it's not fun, nobody likes doing it.
Just get the hell out of here.
Right. But if it's any consolation, as you can tell from my wardrobe, ascot aside, monocle aside, it's I don't get to keep any of the money.
Right.
Okay.
It's collected simply so.
So that powdered wig.
Yeah, that was, it's a hand-me-down.
Okay.
You know, if you look on the inside, it says G.Y. I assume that was.
Sure.
You know,
I can't wait to look
George
at the inside.
Walsh. No one important. So. Anyhow, so it's, I collect the money simply so it can be distributed to the 50 or so taxing districts that rely on it for support. So that's the schools, zoo, metro parks, 911 system, mental health board. So, it is an office that helps government function hopefully well. In the last several years, I've devoted a lot of my time to the creation of and now implementation of something called the Lucas County Land Bank, which I'm the chair of. That's something I'm real excited about.
And should be.
The treasurer is on the front end of the process, since often when people fall into foreclosure, we end up sort of receiving these properties. What the land bank does is turns them into something productive. We can sometimes, unfortunately, the best thing we can do is demolish those properties, and that helps improve the neighborhoods and increase property values. But in other cases, we can rehab them, fix them up, put them back on the market. So there's a lot. It would be very easy for the treasurer to sit in the office all day with a green visor and a pocket protector on and count all the beans. Rest assured, the beans are accounted for. There are no missing beans. But one of my philosophies in my time as treasurer is if that's all that I did, I would feel as though I'm selling the community short, because at the end of the day, this is the office with the financial resources. So let's look for ways to use the resources to move the community forward, whether it is through the creation of the land bank, whether it's through using our investment authority to create a small business loan program, whether it's purchasing bonds to help build a hockey arena, which we did. So I'm looking for, I always look for ways to sort of, move the community forward.
Well,
hopefully,
it's obvious that
I've succeeded,
yes,
but if not, I always have British television to fall back.
That's right,
obvious
absolutely.
That you know a lot about it in your job, but one of the reasons...
P.T. Barnum was right.
Yes.
There's a sucker born every minute. So I fooled you.
But one of the things that we intended on doing when we asked you here was to not really inquire about your job, because we are confident that you're doing it well, but we wanted to ask you some
And we
other
also
questions.
couldn't figure out what it was.
That's
I don't think we would have had more hard-hitting
Yeah.
questions here, but we just couldn't get down to the bottom of it. For a while, we thought that you were the Treasury Secretary, so we had this whole bit on. Well, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I'm actually the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Oh gosh,
British
so-
again.
you're already ruining the format. The format show is again, this is a limited perspective.
Yeah, but you should see the ratings
Yes,
in London right
I
now.
bet.
That's right.
I know the
A British show on taxation. I mean, this has got.
what could go wrong?
What
I
could
mean,
go
Americans have always loved high British taxation. So
So Matt was doing some research on Treasury Secretaries, and then
As you would.
as you would.
yeah, I mean,
And
who
the
doesn't?
first one being Alexander Hamilton, which led us into a whole thing about my obsession with the musical Alexander Hamilton.
I think.
Okay.
I think, in fairness, though, I was researching it, and this was at the top 5.
Correct.
Okay.
So
You're right.
there is some opinion
You're right.
based on
I'm
that.
going to have to interrupt. I don't know where you're headed with this, but
Okay.
this is too good to pass up.
Okay.
Gretchen has been in my home.
Yes.
I think the last time she was there, she was trapped and she couldn't get out, but she
Yeah.
eventually did, dug a tunnel.
This show is being broadcasted from Wade's basement. We need help.
Yeah, that's right.
Please come.
Please.
That's right.
So in the dining room, if you remember the next
I
time you're
do.
there is, a little cabinet with dishes and whatnot. There is a gift there, a little salt and pepper shaker, or something that I
Something
don't,
meaningful to you, clearly.
certainly not meaningful to me, but it was a wedding gift.
Okay.
Most things pertaining to my wedding are not meaningful to me whatsoever. I mean, as Gretchen well knows,
We can
and my wife Sarah can
Also
attest.
knows.
But there is a gift there from my wife's mother's first cousin. He couldn't make the wedding. He was in Texas, but there was a close enough family connection that he sent a gift. Who is this person? His name is Charles Whittington. Why am I wasting this time talking about Charles Whittington? Because he and Alexander Hamilton, here's the connection, are the only two human beings in the history of the United States of America to be shot by a sitting vice president.
No.
Clearly, everyone knows that
Aaron
Burr was shot, shot as he was the sitting vice president of the United States of America in 1804 when he shot Alexander Hamilton.
Yes.
And Charles Whittington, my mother-in-law's first cousin, was the poor sap that Dick Cheney shot in the face when they were duck hunting 10 years ago. He's still alive, and to this day, when he shaves, little bits of the buckshot come out of his face because it's slowly working its way out of his body. So I have a gift.
I would like to see Dick Cheney slowly work his way out of existence. But
that
anyway.
is, I feel like
so
we should
top that. I don't know who your guest is next week, but he or she cannot top that. It's not Aaron Burr's descendant? Okay.
It was going to be, but now I feel like,
All right. So Alexander Hamilton, Treasury Secretary. I get it.
So anyway, side note, we'll discuss later off air, but you should be obsessed with the musical Hamilton as am I.
Have you seen that thing? Have you seen what's his name? Miranda? What's his name? The actor's name?
Yes. Lynn, he was at the White House last week.
Did you see him do freestyling with Obama and then with Emma Watson?
He actually wrote the whole musical.
Yeah.
He read the Alexander Hamilton biography.
Right.
And wrote the whole thing. It's absolutely awesome.
Yep.
Anyway, 5 questions for you.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes, I am awesome.
And again, these 5 questions are going to be for all of our guests.
Right.
Wade is our first gracious guest.
And they'll all be about me, so every subsequent guest has to research.
These are big shoes to fill.
Okay.
They're going to be about. There's going to be what wedding gift means the most to you. We're going to add that to our questions. But Gretchen, fire away.
Number 1, who would play you in a movie about you?
Well, I mean, if you focus merely on
they have to be American.
Okay.
I don't before you ruin.
I think you'd say. I mean, if you focus merely on my dashing good looks, you'd have to think Brad Pitt or George Clooney, something like that. But that's obvious.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's go deeper.
When I was younger and I had glasses, I was always compared to the dorky Skippy from Family Ties. Remember that guy?
Oh, do we ever? That's
right. So I don't know if he's still alive, if he needs work, but I think he's someone who could fill in.
Your vision is getting better since you were an elected official. Why do you no longer need glasswork?
I got
the monocle.
I just need.
Yeah, it is the one bad eye.
That's right. I have one bad eye, and the monocle helps me on the other one. So, I guess if not him, any actor who's bald. Ed Harris, maybe.
All right.
Okay.
Woody Harrelson.
My mom loves Ed Harris.
Woody Harrelson.
I'm sure Skippy would need the job. So we're going to put him there.
Yeah. He. I'm sure he doesn't.
Alex P. Keaton's buddy. He should be easy to track down.
His phone can't be ringing. Yes.
Least favorite street in Toledo to drive.
Jeez, that's a tough one.
This is kind of hard-hitting questions we have on this show. I'm not sure what you thought. This isn't time for softballs here.
Least favorites? Well, I mean, they all are riddled with potholes. The least favorite street, I'd say Wade Street.
Wade Street?
Wade Street, because much like me, it's sort of unloved and forgotten about.
Yeah.
It's underneath
shows kind of a sad turn here.
It is.
It's the British crap.
Yeah, that's right. It's underneath. It's near the Anthony Wayne Bridge, kind of behind the Oliver House.
I know where it is.
It's kind of a warehouse, and
I had a criminal case that the crime occurred on Wade Street.
Yeah,
it's the sort of place where people get shot in the face by a vice president.
Yeah.
So I would say Wade Street.
Yeah, we got to move forward here.
Okay. What is the worst job you ever had?
I was a busboy at Brew City Barbecue in Milwaukee when I was a college student there. That was pretty bad.
Yeah. Was it the stealing of the bones that was terrible, or was
that would be.
It was just
a lot of bones.
And I guess in every job there is a hierarchy of. There's a power structure, but the busboy is the low. So we find ourselves getting bossed around by the waiters and waitresses, who usually are at the absolute bottom, but they just relished being able to push someone around. So, but those were during my college days where you don't have two nickels to scratch together. What I loved is that deep in the freezer there were always a jar of pickles that from time to time I would take unauthorized pickles and eat them and feel like I was getting one over on the man. And that's right, and saving a little money. So that
There's
was
nothing better than a busboy with pickle breath either.
yeah, that was better. My first
People
job,
don't talk to you when you're a busboy. I mean, you are.
No, that's true.
you're
my first job was as a caddy at Inverness.
Sure. Okay.
But I did not dislike that. I actually kind of I enjoyed that, and
Do you golf now?
not well.
Sure.
But my political philosophy and socioeconomic standing is that the closest I ever get to a country club is to be the servant of the wealthy,
Got it.
Very good.
which I certainly was.
Right.
And so, but I enjoyed that. Being a busboy at Bruce City Barbecue in downtown Milwaukee,
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy that as much.
No, that's
Okay.
good.
Even with the pickles.
Even with the pickles. The pickles made it marginally better, but
Yeah.
not enough to make it any more than my least favorite
All right.
job.
We're almost finished.
Thank goodness.
That's right. The sweat is pouring down Wade's
Yeah.
face.
Right.
I know you can't see it.
What is your favorite animal? Sub-question. If you had to list the opposite of your favorite animal, what would the opposite of your favorite animal be?
Okay. I mean, I would say my favorite animal would maybe be a deer. I don't know.
Oh boy.
Is that bad? I don't know.
What's
if
your
that's
animal, man? I can't help you out.
Okay. No, it sounds like I am, on the match game or one of those things.
Yeah.
I enjoy long walks in the park. No,
Sure.
but I actually genuinely do. One of the not to turn this into a little campaign thing, but one of the things that Toledo has a lot of challenges, no question. One of the things I like about Toledo an awful lot is its park system. The
Sure.
natural parks are great.
Mm-hmm.
And, Ottawa Park was designed by Frederick Law Olmsted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no less than the father of our, landscape architecture. He planned Central Park. So I do enjoy sort of rollerblading around and walking and jogging and seeing the deer and things. So I guess that would make it my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Least favorite.
I gotta tell you, the deer surprised me, especially
I
as a
did too.
Toledoan.
Yeah.
All you hear is people wanting to off them.
Thank God
Yeah.
you live in Iowa Hills.
I don't live in Ottawa Hills.
I said thank God you don't.
Oh, don't live in. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because the bow.
Yeah.
You'd be so conflicted.
Yeah, that's right. The I would have said my dog, but it keeps peeing in the house, so that's
Yeah.
out.
Gretchen,
in fact,
the same way. That's why we have to record this outside.
yeah,
Right,
that's right.
right,
In
right.
fact, I currently will say that my least favorite animal is my dog Zoe,
Yeah.
because of her proclivity for peeing in the house.
Yeah.
Now,
So, there you have it.
that was a dog that it was as a result of your kids wanting the dog?
Yes.
Okay.
What
And
kind of dog?
It is a Chihuahua
Oh, boy.
something mix.
All right.
It's a rescue. It's a rescue dog we got from the Toledo Animal Shelter. It was the product of relentless lobbying on behalf of my 12-year-old Emma, who just I want a dog. And Sarah.
12-year-olds can't be trusted.
Well, they can't be trusted, but they always get their way, it seems, Sarah was the lump on a log, but she resisted for a long time.
It's a romantic sentiment. I'm gonna write that
It
down.
is, right.
So something
Lump
for a
on
card.
a log.
That's right. Write this down.
First cousin once removed to the guy Dick Cheney shot in the face. But Sarah said, fine, we'll get a dog. There's only two things I require. One, must be housebroken, and two, it can't shed. I think the instant it visited our house, it peed on the carpet and there's been no abatement in that habit. And as you can probably see underneath my ascot monocle, I'm covered in
Dog hair.
Zoe hair. So she failed on both accounts. But
Have you warmed to this dog at all?
I've always liked her,
Okay.
but she is.
Well, deer is your favorite animal, so your bar is not high.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
it's not high.
Yeah. It's a kind soul. I appreciate that.
I'm kind of like Saint Francis, in that.
Modest.
Yeah, it's just modest. Yeah.
Was he British?
Yeah, he's not British, but he loved animals. So, but that does remind me that a lot of times I just wonder what is my greatest quality, and I think it's my humility.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
just I'm so humble.
You
Now,
assume
what
it.
sort of
Right.
thing brings that first and foremost to your mind when you're looking for your greatest quality?
What's
Like,
my
when are you
humility?
asking yourself that question?
I thought you just asked it, didn't you? Or
No.
Or
I
is
know.
it when Sarah's saying, what do you think so great about you that you think about it?
no, it's Sarah all the time will look at me and say, "I am so lucky to have married you. You are the best husband
You know I met
ever."
her, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So, but she.
He lives 8 miles away from the
Yeah.
station, so we know that.
Yeah, I don't think Sarah gets. Yeah, Sarah lives 8 miles away, so she
Yeah,
she
we're
can't.
She can say really whatever.
That's right.
Her real name is Carol.
And so
That's
we're
right.
moving out. Okay, last question. What is your favorite thing about Toledo that Toledoans are unaware of?
Well, I mentioned the parks, which
Absolutely.
That is truly one of my favorite things about Toledo, and I think and assume that Toledoans know about the parks, but they are I don't know if they really appreciate what an extensive network they have. I think maybe I can merge two things together with this answer. That I talked about the parks. There's also as sort of a fan of history and a little bit of an ideological New Dealer. I have to say I dig how much of this city was built with WPA labor and major. So, for instance, why am I merging these two together? If you ever go to Sidecut Metro Park, there you'll see a lot of the architecture that the WPA workers did. In fact, they lived in the park in little shelters that are still there, and they built it. Obviously, there's probably 5 or 6 buildings at the zoo, the amphitheater, the aviary, several places there that were built. WPA, the university, the Glass Bowl, a bunch. So, Toledo's got some neat history, neat research. So I guess I would mention those two because they sort of merge my deer-loving affinity for the parks and my devotion to FDR's policies in one. So.
And WAKT has an annual fundraiser every year celebrating FDR's birthday.
Yes,
okay.
So it's a true affinity.
I want to tell you, just to tie this into the endless amount of research I did,
yes.
Based on your arrival, number 4 on the list was FDR's long secretary, whose name eludes me. Okay. But I just want to plug it in because I didn't want that.
Treasury Secretary.
Thank you. The longest, 15 years.
Oh, okay.
Really?
That was all I got from it.
Okay.
Frances Perkins was his Secretary of Labor, and she was the first female member of cabinet. But Gretchen's right. I have an FDR fundraiser every year, and one year, we ham it up. We got a birthday cake for FDR. I mean, it's just so. January 30th, 1882 is when he was born, so 100 and some years old, right? So just as an indication of perhaps the more youthful generation not having an appreciation beyond what's on The Walking Dead this week or whatever. So we order a cake, and I think someone from the office went to pick it up the day of the fundraiser, and there's a picture of FDR on it. And the clerk says to the woman who picked up, "Oh, that's wonderful. Who is that? Your husband?" So it was Judy. Remember Judy?
Yes, Judy. Yes.
Yeah, so
the timeline's about right there. But
the timeline is about right. So
well, Wade, thank you so much for joining our first broadcast.
And I know it will be my last. So I'll this. If your show survives, good luck.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's right. So
Words with Wade, I think, is a showstopper.
Did you think of any other name besides Words with Wade? It doesn't have to have a
when I was in high school, I wrote a little column for the student newspaper that was in the prime time of Saturday Night Live, Wayne's World. I called it Wade's World, but again, Wade's World. No one remembers that. I mean, you have to be an old curmudgeon like me. People do remember it. People remember Wade's World. There will be no unnecessary Zooms. Actually, I once knew someone from Aurora, Illinois, which is a cable access channel.
My wife is from Aurora.
Is she really?
Yeah.
See,
yes.
So she's the one I knew.
That's right. So that's a story for a different show.
That's a story for a different time.
That's right.
That's right.
I'm just gonna excuse myself.
Right.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll have you back on to hear more about Wade's World.
Okay.
All right.
All right. It'll be a short segment.
Great.
Wade.
Thanks, Wade.
Okay. Yep.
All right, for our large audience, this is the end of our program at WAKT 106.1. This is Time, Toledo, Integrated, what's the M, Gretchen?
Media.
And Education. See, that's the part we forgot in our programming. But thanks for tuning in to Limited Perspective. We hope to be back next week with more Limited Perspective.